What's up, everybody? Eric Mashinsky, Phenom Crypto Letter. It's the weekend, Sunday. We're already well into July, believe it or not, the 14th. I am checking in with everybody today on the topic of uh, basically touching base on where I think we're at in the crypto market cycle, why it's also these pullbacks, mid-cycle pullbacks, third of the cycle, two-thirds of the cycle, whatever you want to call it, into it, maybe closer to a quarter of the first part of the bull cycle. But I think we're at max a third of the way in since the late 2022 lows. But in terms of price, but the importance of the pullbacks in the cycle for people like us that are investing our own money, looking for opportunities, looking to make a killing in the sector. They are crucial. Like times like right now, checking in with you guys on where we are, what I'm doing, how I'm thinking about this, the actions that I'm taking or not taking. I want to give you a little bit of color on this because the way that I've been able to have success as an investor, as a speculator, as a trader, but mainly as an investor, there have been a few keys in terms of things to get right. Is it always about picking a particular project, token, and equity? That can help, if you've got that skill set, and I believe that I do in terms of doing individual fundamental, research on various projects. Some are over my head, some are of disinterest. But looking at the entire landscape, zeroing in on special situations, I love to do that. And that is something that we do offer here with regard to some of the smaller altcoin picks, the themes within the bull cycle that I think are going to have the most opportunities, or at least have their day in the sun in the move forward and outperform, for example, Bitcoin. Those things are very important. What we need to have correctly, first and foremost, though, and it's very important, but it's also, if you've got this right, you can make a good amount of mistakes and still come out way, way ahead. And that is, are we in a bull or a bear market? Are we in a bull or a bear market in anything that we're investing in, particularly right now in our crypto world and our portfolio? What are we in? Because in a bull market, you have pullbacks that can be fairly substantial, or with either price and or time. This one isn't bad with price so far. Could it get worse? I would see easily it would be within the realm of the possibility for a scary shake and bake on Bitcoin to still occur between now and call it September, and go down to flush to $50,000 to shake the trees before going to the next level. Am I predicting that? No, I don't know. I'm really not sure. In fact, I'm getting more bullish now with the duration that's gone on. I think it's been a healthy duration with this pullback since we had the hype going into the ETF approvals. And, from the move late in the fall last year until into Q1, into March, a lot of the tops that we saw in some speculation, it's been a nice cooling period. You need this for sustainable, bigger moves to come. In fact, the longer this correction goes in Bitcoin, the higher I think it ultimately will go in this cycle. That's why it's important to cool off for periods of time and to shake out hot money, things of this nature. My experience in the capital markets, I've talked to some people in the last week that reminded me about, some of the strengths that I think I can bring to the table to help. Otherwise, why am I doing this and why are you listening to me? A big part of this also, though, is, the timing of when and how to buy and when to sell. That one being one I'll say in a few moments. That's the biggest challenge in the game, I believe, for me and for everybody. When and how to take profits, when and how to buy. My advice and what I'm doing with my own money right now is I am deploying and redeploying capital into crypto in many, many names that I like. I've got like I'm going to pull it up and I'm just going to share with you. I'm having a technical issue where I can't just share my screen right now, but I can invert this and show you a little bit about what I'm talking about. This is my Coinbase account, okay? And let me just pull up here my recurring transactions. These are things that I've put into play on my Coinbase account in the last month or so, 5 weeks. These are recurring buys. So just to give you an idea and a screenshot, I'll walk through them while you're still looking at me. But you know, I've got a couple of different pieces in shares and size of Internet Computer that I've been adding back. That I put in, yeah, at least a month ago. Aptos is a project that I think has a lot of promise. I'm still getting fully up to speed on Aptos, but I believe that Aptos, as a disruptive sort of layer one, even perhaps starting to take some of the shine off of the Solana best of cycle story in terms of perhaps performance against ETH. Aptos could be in the range of Solana or better in terms of performance from here until the next bull cycle peak. Aptos is a very interesting story. So I wanted to get a position on there. I put a chunk of money to work in this like 650 area on Aptos. And then I have a couple of different buys weekly, you know, $400 of Aptos weekly on a Wednesday, $444 of Aptos weekly on a Saturday. It's kind of random. I mean, Internet Computer, 200 actual tokens of ICP every week on a Tuesday, $333 of ICP every week on a Saturday, $277 weekly on a Saturday of Kusama. I've got two different $150 buys of Hive Mapper during the week, and I'm actually going to bump a new one in there and put 800 or 700 a week on top of that. So I'm accumulating 1,000. I've got a huge position in this one, guys. And actually, if you see, I can't even show you on this screen for some reason right now, but I've got a screenshot that I took earlier to share with a friend that I was talking to yesterday about Honey. If you look at my Coinbase account in terms of overall capital gains and losses, you know, that includes realized and unrealized from what they have in this section on your portfolio. In Coinbase, when I opened that account, you know, versus now to 2016, I believe it includes all of that. The returns, you know, on so many of these coins, I've already made, you know, tons and tons of money on the positions. And there are others where it's like, you know, there's some newer stuff that were bought in this cycle, even like Tezos, which I've been buying for a long time. I'm slightly underwater on that, you know, so you don't see too many things in my Coinbase account that are you know, unrealized losses or of a bigger loss percentage, except for my Honey position, which I'm underwater. I think, well, it's moving up today, but I'm probably underwater about 45% still at 6.6 cents. My cost is probably around 12 and a half or something like that. So maybe a little, maybe, you know, it's less than 50%, but not much. So I'm down, and I'm down, you know, 60 some $1,000. I still have a balance of 62,000 in Hive Mapper. So, you know, just so you know, this is a play, real world assets, very interesting story, very dynamic. Went from unlisted play to like Coinbase overnight, took off from pennies to 30 some cents. Now it's retraced all the way down here. It's a very real project. I would encourage you guys to take a look, take a peek, take a bite of it, and take advantage of the fact that I'm underwater on it. You know, sometimes that's just a good enough reason within itself. If I'm Doesn't mean I'm totally wrong on the project, but I've been buying more this entire time, and I can take a 50% unrealized downswing and stomach it without a problem if I believe that I've got that first piece right, that we're in a bull cycle, and it's basically being reiterated as we go that I'm in a bull cycle. That's going to have my back. Assets tend to rise, prices rise. You could throw a lot of shit against the wall and make a fortune if you're in that framework correctly, that you're within a bull market and you're long and you're buying on pullbacks as well. You're buying early and then you buy on pullbacks. The more severe the duration and or price, the more you buy. that is a very simple philosophy that I've put to work over the years that has made me has changed my life, as far as the level of financial profile that I have. And in crypto, that's been expounded from what I also do in stocks and mining companies and metals and things like that. Tech stocks, equities. I have a very deep equities background, but with crypto, it's the same principle. It's just juiced up. It's a crazy sector. I like to tell people, like, you've never seen anything like crypto. I haven't. And this isn't going to be forever, but we're in still a pretty early stage of adoption and development in a sector that reminds me of like late 90s internet adoption. Somewhere in that ballpark. We're still transitioning from dial-ups to broadband, situation. It's just it's very clunky. These systems are clunky. Some of the stuff to do where you have to, if you want to buy different tokens, especially if you're in a handicapped geographic location like America, where they won't let us go to centralized exchanges anywhere in the world because they're afraid of our government and regulators. To be able to buy some of these unique tokens, smaller projects, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work and a bunch of bullshit, some headaches. A lot of people don't want to deal with it. My suggestion to you is to keep an open mind, because that's also a reflection of how early we still are in the crypto adoption timeline. And that means there's still a lot of upside and meat on the table to be taken. If it was starting to get seamless, adoption, is going to continue to go through the roof. But if you're buying Amazon now versus buying it in the early 2000s, clearly, Bezos has been taking off huge slugs, of his ownership. I think he's now under 10%, might even be around 8% of the company. He's been taking off hundreds of billions of dollars, it seems like, definitely in the billions, of his position steadily. And I don't blame him. He's worth so much money. He can keep his Amazon on. He's basically doing what I would recommend that we do when this crypto market matures and the bull cycle goes up. And you're essentially taking a premise of, that's one of the just phrases I'll use, or slogans here, about how do you end up best doing that, knowing when to sell. Well, when the ducks are squawking the loudest, start to feed the ducks. When the ducks are quacking the loudest, feed the ducks. Just start to feed the ducks. And you don't worry about where any pebble to the duck goes, if that was the top or you're going to pick the top. If you think that way, you are going to miss everything and ride everything back down, and it is not going to work. Trust me. I've tried that and it does not happen. You get very lucky if one of the duckling tosses actually comes pretty close to that top, but that's just a sliver of your holding. So, and to appropriately play these volatile areas where we're going for big risk reward, I love that thought process. Okay. We are not hearing ducks quacking. In fact, right now, the ducks were quacking around the ETF. They started to quack. It was actually a good time back in March to maybe start feeding a little bit of the ducks. I did that with some of the smaller tokens that were up 10x for us, some of them in premium. But that was also not even like whole positions, but I did take off, some of them that went up that much, within 12 months or less. I definitely started to take some off. I put it into cash. I put things into other things that I thought were cheap, like gold stocks and things of that nature, and just sat on certain things as well. And recently, it's been very recently, this last month or so, that I've started to put money back to work and move it back over from other areas and put it back to work into crypto and buy more of the things that I saw that I may have taken profits on. Some I may just be down on, but I know that, I was buying at a good price, and now things have just gotten squashed in AI, in, a lot of these themes, even some of the soul development projects, the DePIN arena, the decentralized science, which I love. in longevity, AI, combining that with things like Rejuve AI, which I really like, and we continue to buy and premium. These type of situations have been crushed since March. I mean, you're talking about just a few months, and a lot of these names, these smaller names, I mean, even Fetch is off 40-45% from its highs, maybe closer to 50. So the AI sector has gotten squashed because it was also a top performer on the way up. Now is when you want to, like, big data protocol. I've talked about that one here. We started buying that one in 2022, late 22, I believe, or early 23. It was like 8 cents, went down to 5. The lower it went, the louder I got, the more that we bought and the less people reacted. Same thing with Fetch. I was talking about that at 25 cents down to 20. And we probably had a 6-month window there to buy into that story. So only a certain amount of people converted, when you're in that environment, and you're just waiting for things to turn. We're in a similar micro environment right now, but my suggestion is you're buying some of this stuff. You're planting seeds in this environment because all of a sudden we're up 10x on Fetch, and I blew out of 85% of that position. Am I going to buy it back? I don't know. I'm looking for, if I'm going to take risk beyond Bitcoin and some of the top 50 tokens and ETH, and some of my favorites like Chainlink and Filecoin and Internet Computer and others, where there's real value substantiated, then, or special situations that are out there, then, I'd rather find the next Fetch with a lot of that capital. And so we've got some pretty cool, amazing projects that are in the works that are on sale right now that I cover in the premium service, just FYI. And I'm sharing a few of these here organically with you guys as well, just so you get some ideas to look into for yourself. But I want to reiterate today that we're in a bull market in crypto, guys. What you want to look at first and foremost, and this is your responsibility to do it. I'm not a financial advisor anymore. I used to be a long time ago, but I'm not anymore. And I'm not doing that anyway to a group that I don't have a personal relationship with some of you. You don't know me. I don't know you. You have to determine your level of risk that's appropriate that you want to have. My thing is that I believe that the bulk of people that are listening to this, wherever we attracted you from, you likely have tiptoed in the project into different cryptos. At least you're here at the table, but there are many. There's a lot less of us that are like 50% of our assets in crypto that are here, communicating right now, than those that have 1 or 2%, dipping the toe in the water, just got a little bit, trying to stay a little bit on top of things. But it's like, one eye, it's over here. You're just keeping an eye a little bit on it when you need to zoom in right now, I think, and take this very seriously, because into a later stage crypto bull cycle, you can make an enormous amount of money, but you need to be planting seeds now during the downtime and hope that things are going to continue to get cheaper. You just have to be wise with your own liquidity, your own situation, position sizing. Do you buy all at once and just say, we're going to try to pick the bottom? That is foolishness on a very, very high level. It's very difficult to do that successfully and put that type of pressure on yourself. I've been doing this a long time, and it just doesn't make any sense. Like, I like to give myself some rope, and as long as I've got that we're in a bull cycle thing covered, that can make up for a lot of errors in terms of if I start buying in too early. As long as I've got some some pebbles to continue to throw into the market as it goes down or as it goes sideways, then I can continue to do that. And sometimes having some time to get some cash loosened up or whatever, have some more liquidity, earn some more money that you can put into the market, is a dynamic thing. But you have to do it. You have to take the action. So my suggestion is right now, and you're going to hear this from me, guys. This is one thing I can promise you. I will not always be saying deploy fresh capital into crypto. There will be an absolute time when I'm saying take money off the table in crypto across the board. It's getting too expensive. It's getting too frothy. There's too much of a mania and a bubble that is coming into this consolidated period of time, and things are getting out of hand, and there's no way to justify or rationalize me having all this money and all these profits sitting in this shit. I'm taking it, a big chunk of it, off the table. I will be that person, trust me, when I believe that time has come. Right now, so just to let you know, there's a differentiation. I'm not an always on, on button going to be saying put in fresh cash. Like you'll notice when Bitcoin made that first run up to 60, 70, I was like, I stopped talking about putting a bunch of money to work. I was like, this is in this ETF approval. There's a lot of hot money coming in here. I don't know if it's going to stop at 50, 55 or 65, or, it's ended up going up to like what, 70, and change. And, but I didn't have a good feel like that there was going to be this sustained move to 200,000 from there. You've got to have these digestion periods, and you've got to have these sort of shake the tree moments in a bull cycle to continue to go higher. And it started to feel to me, I actually, I use every technical tool in the book over the course of my career. I keep things fairly simple technically these days. And I actually use a lot of muscle memory as well as experience, and the feel that I have in my gut, also by taking in information all over the place from people in the space, from people that are outside of the space, talking to old friends that I told about Bitcoin in, 2016 at $500. There's like two of them in the world that actually acted on that. And they're actually upset because they didn't buy more. I'm like, at least you have a couple Bitcoin. A lot of people didn't listen to me at all. They were calling at 47,000 and I wouldn't answer the phone. And I'm like, you're too late, buddy. Back in 2020, 2021. So, but now I have a lot of conviction that, those of you that are listening right now, Phenom Crypto, I believe we've got an edge in the space, just with experience and everything else. So I'm giving you an overview. I'm giving you a few little ideas to also, so throwing some names out for you to consider and look at. But the biggest thing is step one. Do you own Bitcoin? How much do you have? You don't worry about just like one token, some shitcoin that's going to make you completely rich and happy because you make 1,000x on it, and you don't own any of the stuff in the sector that's still going to have amazing returns. If we're correct here, there's still a couple 100% perhaps of upside in Bitcoin in a pretty consolidated timeline, if past is prologue at all. And Ethereum, I still believe will be an outperformer of Bitcoin in the second half of the cycle. That is typical. You're probably going to see Solana outperform ETH. There are these things that you don't have to be too concerned about unless you're really already pretty deep into some of those bets already and the blue chips. But there are some of the anomalies like the Aptoses of the world. There's a number of those that I talk about in the premium site that get even smaller and a little bit more speculative and have bigger upside. And then we go all the way down. My love and specialty, the thing that changed my life for real was finding some of these tokens. I'll give you a few that I found and ended up taking 200, 300, 400, 500, 600 times my money profits on partial parts of the positions. Theta Coin, Phantom, Quant, Bakery Swap, of course, is my claim to fame, from 0.012 cents to the high sale I had was about 5.5 months later at $7.77, my lucky number. I went to 8, and I think it's back down to 30. It went even lower. But you don't need to get it all correct. If you have something go up like 200-300x, you just need to get it anywhere near the freaking ballpark. And you take a lot of money out. You can afford to ride a lot down. You can afford to sell some early, sell some late, whatever. It doesn't matter. That's the type of thing that I like to add into the mix. So we snipe some of those opportunities and look at those. The only one that I would say that, like, for those of you that have been around and saw some of the screen shares that I did with like MEXC, which I think is a good exchange for a lot of these smaller ones. I'll share my link on the discount code in this one for you guys that want to set that account up. I also have futures trades that I do occasionally. I don't like to focus on those too much because people that are unsophisticated, you can get wiped. You can be sophisticated and get wiped. So you got to be very, very careful. But I do have a number of longs on right now, like in MEXC, and it's looking good. Everything's very green. And that's another thing with the perpetual futures. If you're gonna put something on leverage, I do like the isolated perpetual futures because if I do 10x leverage, so say you're gonna put in 5 grand and you get 50K worth of exposure in that play. You have a little bit of wiggle room on your downside, but if it hits that liquidation price, your 5 grand is gone, but you're not obligated to lose any more than that. You're not going to lose, go way upside down like it's short, or like you have a very true margin account on borrow that can just get wiped out. You can have a debit, nothing like that. It's the isolated amount. That's what you have at risk. And you can have a lot of leverage. I mean, I'm seeing right now on my screen. Let me just actually pull this up for you guys here. There's like, right there's some unrealized P&Ls. Those are small ones. Then you get down to big, 211%. What is that? Aptos, 71%, 83%, 101%, and then 87 at the top. So I've been buying. These are some things that I've been putting on like just randomly, and most of these I haven't even mentioned in premium. But this has been over the course of the last week or so, and just I'm not doing anything wild in there, but it's nice to see when you've got a bunch of stuff in the green. It ends up juicing up returns a bit for me, and when things get even more of a conviction mode, I do like to utilize the futures to to boost my profitable months and quarters in a bull cycle. So with that link, you can do either one spot or the futures in MEXC if you want to look into that area. And you'll have a problem if you're an American. So if you're from somewhere else, you won't. You'll be able to get involved on a centralized exchange that has a lot of the small names that we like. So I'm going to leave it there right now, but I wanted to check in with everybody and let you know what I'm thinking. I'm much more bullish than concerned or bearish on a further pullback. I think our downside in time and or price from here in general in the market is pretty limited. And that was the other thing I was going to say is that there is a lot of risk if you're too timid at this point going into this cycle at this stage where you can still make astonishing profits getting it even in the ballpark correctly, and you're too timid and you start to do more later on at higher prices and then go through another crypto winter, maybe you run into some liquidity traps and you get squeezed out of this stuff, it can screw up everything. And we're not going to see as big of moves on the upside and or downside as this market matures. You're just not going to get the swings. You're not going to see BTC going down by 85%, drawdowns from highs to lows from crypto summer peaks or fall peaks to crypto winter doldrums, because it's going to be a much more mature marketplace. That also means you're not going to see the 10x or more market lows to market high moves any longer. They're going to be condensed, as they should, as the adoption grows, the network, the participation, the size of the marketplace. So just don't be too much of a wussy, is what I'm saying. If you're here, it's good. If you're here now, I think it's good. If you're here now and you have some cash and you're willing to put that at risk, you don't want to get wild, but you want to be starting to get, boost your exposure to an amount that if, say, you made several 100% from here in a fairly short period of time, is that going to be meaningful for you? Or is it like you're just fucking around? Like, I don't play this. I've got half of my net worth minimum is in crypto. Okay. More than that. But, and I've got a lot of that in hard assets, metals, mining, equities as well. So I'm pretty specific and I'm very high risk tolerance, but, but I've got conviction and there's going to be a point where a good amount of that in hopefully both of those asset classes, where that percentage comes way back. And I have much more in just stable liquid sources, and or add various other asset classes to my portfolio because of the cheapness of them, or the cyclical nature of where those are at. But right now, I'm in big in those two arenas. I also have, for those of you that might be interested, goldinvestmentletter.com is my longest standing and largest investment newsletter since 2011. If that's an area that interests you, we talk a lot about different mining stocks. Before crypto and tokens were around, the area to make your 20, 50, 100x has been junior mining stocks, exploration companies. I love those things. I've had big winners there, and but nothing compared to my crypto bags. When every one of those, though, that I talk about, that I was just giving you a few of the names that came to mind. Phantom at a half a penny, Theta at 5 cents, Quant they started buying at 240. What was the other one I mentioned? I'm not sure, but you know, Theta. Um, yeah, I said Theta already. There's a few. There's a handful of others. Actually, I had 8 of them that were up over 125x in the last cycle. Profit taking on partial positions up to 650x. Bakery swap I mentioned. But I lost my train of thought there anyway. I'm going to wrap it up. We'll keep this where it is today. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Okay. Cheers.